or really inexpensive, like $30 as opposed to $300 once you graduate. So I urge you to join as many as you think would be, again, be strategic, but the ones that kind of are targeted or have a lot of attorneys and programs in the different practice area, or areas that you're interested in. What's nice is that they often have seminars, talks, different panels, and you can get a lot of information from those. You can also, tell people about it when you're interviewing and put it on your resume. And you also get the practitioner's perspective. You don't just get the sort of university lecturer's perspective. You get some substantive knowledge, but also some practical tips about it. I'll give you an example too. There was an IP conference here recently, and so because I used to do legal work in IP, I thought, oh, that'd be really fun to go to. And it was really nice because a good portion of the attendees were students here, and they found it really, really helpful. They also got to meet some IP attorneys and talk with some of the presenters, so it was really, really valuable. And then things like read and educate yourself. If you're finding that people are telling you that you need to be more informed in a certain area, be proactive and read what you can. And another thing that will make you stand out too is if you can write an article, and you have the time now over the next year to kind of keep your eyes and ears open about something you may want to write on. Maybe some of the people you talk to might give you some suggestions on something you can write on. And it not only will you get the substantive knowledge, you'll really appear like, oh, she has an expertise in this, and you'll sort of make yourself stand out. The last thing, of course, is any work or volunteer experience that you can do. And try to think creatively, too. I mean, I know you guys are really, really busy, but a lot of times there's things you can volunteer for and get substantive knowledge on that aren't really time-consuming. So keep your eyes and ears open, and when you talk to people, explore that a little bit.
I mean, one way that I recommend for students to use informational interviews to gain knowledge is as you're talking to attorneys, to ask them, what do you read to stay current, or what organizations are you a member of? But if they say, oh, I read this newsletter or that, journal, it may be that it's too hard for you to get those, maybe they're too expensive, but maybe, when you're done, would you mind just shooting me an email and, could I take your old copies of, if they were just going to throw it in the recycling bin, I think they'd be just as happy to give it to you and give that publication some more life. It also makes you look very ambitious, and it makes you look like someone who is eager to develop professionally, and it may give you an opportunity to keep having contact with that attorney or with that professor. So I would try to find those little tricks to kind of hit on all three of the areas that we're talking about.
One thing that I often did was I read a lot of sort of legal blogs and kind of know what legal issues people were talking about. So when I did interviews, I could ask people, and I sounded really knowledgeable about the practice area because I was sort of staying informed of things that other people through blogs and different groups that they were online with were also talking about.
So what we want you to do now is take a minute or two or three on the action plan side of your form, focusing on the knowledge column, and maybe write down some strategies, some tactics, some concrete things you think you could commit to doing this semester or next semester to enhance your knowledge. So to give you some examples, for this DA candidate, we could read district attorney newsletters or write an article for a blog or for that district attorney newsletter, do informational interviews with alumni, and CLE courses. And to the extent you're doing them, check them off. And this is meant to be a document you refer to over time. It's not just something you fill out today and put aside. So we'll give you a minute to come up with a few ideas. Skills you need to be developing, and what tactics can you use between now and when you get that attorney job to both acquire your skills and develop them. Right? So it's not enough to have acquired them 2 years ago and not use them, because it's like exercise. You have to keep using it to keep it current and to really be able to tap into that skill set. So some of the strategies that we would recommend are to focus on our more experiential learning classes, a lot of the hands-on and simulation classes. This is that opportunity in a very safe environment to learn how to do this stuff. And so if you've identified skill areas where you might have a deficit, see what we have on the course schedule for next That flows into externships and internships. We really want you to be strategic with the kind of work experience you get next semester. First of all, we encourage you to get it, just to have that final opportunity during law school to add to the plate. And it's not unusual, depending on where you're working, for an employer possibly to even want to bring you back while you're waiting for bar results. And so that is a nice strategy, because it'd be nice to have a place to land after the bar, and even if it's only a short-term opportunity at this point, that would be very beneficial to you to have some kind of opportunity lined up. So I would look at work experience for both the benefit of building the skills, but also maybe leading to something else. Our internship, our externship programs, and our in-house clinics are a great way to build these skills in a supportive environment, working with attorneys, and really building those lawyer skills. And so I would encourage you to look there. Obviously, we are here to help with that and help you find the appropriate placements. But now would be a good time to start looking for something for the spring semester if you are planning to line something up. There are all kinds of attorney training programs. I'll get announcements occasionally for, more for attorneys, learn how to take a deposition, or learn how to write better in your briefs to judges, or whatever it is. If you know that that's a skill you want to continue to develop, see if you can go to those programs. Maybe they can waive the tuition because you're not earning CLE credit, or they can reduce it, or they need volunteers. Sometimes they'll be flexible with you. PLI is a great resource for continuing education programs, and they have a facility here in San Francisco, and we have a very nice relationship with them where they will allow Golden Gate students and unemployed graduates to go for free. And normally these courses cost several $1,000s. So the other people in the room are employed attorneys, because those are the only folks who can afford to go to these things. So it's good networking, but it's also a great way to learn skills and to be in that environment. We brought a form with us that has information about how you learn about these different sessions that they offer, and take advantage of their scholarship policy for our students. Pro bono work is another wonderful way to develop your skill set. And what's nice about pro bono is that you don't necessarily have to commit for a whole semester. If you're thinking about something, you're not sure, you can dabble a little bit. It might just be a one-day commitment or a 3-hour commitment. But in the course of that, you are actually providing legal services, you're building your confidence, you're typically supervised by an attorney, so you're also developing your contacts. And it gives you something to talk about in your next interview. If you find you enjoy that work, you can continue doing it, but the time commitment tends to be very modest. So I encourage you, if you're not using our pro bono program, to tap into it. We have a great way to connect you with pro bono opportunities, and so I encourage you to really use that program.
I meet with a lot of recent grads, and they're obviously really burnt out after taking the bar, but after a few weeks or so, a lot of them are trying to figure out, well, what can I do to pay the rent? But they also have some free time on the weekends, and to do some of these things that Susanne was talking about is really invaluable, because it's showing that you're really committed to your profession, that you're really committed to learning more and developing skills, and a lot of these things are not huge time drains. They're things that you could do, one evening a week, or maybe one day a week, or whatever. So keep it in mind. I know it's hard now because it's quite a ways away, but maybe jot it down on your action plan to keep remembering to look for those opportunities while you're waiting for bar results.
And to do, and that makes you sound more interesting. If you meet an attorney out there and they, what are you doing? What are you looking for? And you say, well, I want to do this, whatever your goal is, but right now I'm just focusing on getting through my classes and preparing for the bar. All right, well, you and every other third-year law student have that same exact answer. There's something interesting about it. It doesn't show that motivation. But if instead you say, well, I'm, finishing out my classes, I'm prepping for the bar, and I'm volunteering 2 days a week at this office, or I'm doing an internship at that office, or here's what I'm doing, you sound like someone who's engaged and motivated and become much more memorable. And so that is the key, so to become memorable for the right reasons. So to give you a sense of what this might look like on your action plan, so for this person, we had identified earlier there was a gap in some of the skills for being being a DA. So we put on here, you know, do an externship at the district attorney's office for the spring semester. It seemed like that would fill in the gap in terms of maybe doing some negotiation and doing some courtroom work. So, you know, that one seemed a bit obvious. Maybe attend litigation CLEs, maybe even outside of the prosecution scope, just learning how to do courtroom stuff and litigation stuff. Yes?
Just on a practical note, how do you go about actually getting the sign up and everything for CLEs, given that a lot of them require you to give a bar number?
Well, a lot of them don't. I mean, they'll ask for a bar number because, so the question is, how do you sign up if you don't have a bar number for CLEs? They'll ask for it because the people who are trying to get credit, like they need to have a record of their bar number, but it's not necessarily a requirement that you are licensed in California to attend those things. So it's usually not an issue. If it is, just come and talk to us, or you pick up the phone and talk to the folks organizing the event and work around it.
There was one on campus they were really wanting to do, and I couldn't sign up online or anything because there was no bar number, and it's like, it was throwing me out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you just put all zeros, or just call them. Sometimes, you know, don't be limited by computers, right? I mean, sometimes you just need the human element to do some problem solving. But usually, in my experience, students can go to these, paralegals sometimes go to them, attorneys licensed in other jurisdictions will go to them. So I don't think that's typically a barrier.
A lot of times too, they're looking for volunteers. I know BASF likes it, you volunteer and then you get to go to the seminar for free, but also then you're meeting people. You know, you're signing people in, so you're meeting all these attorneys that are working in the field that you're interested in. So think about volunteering. It's just you know, you're there maybe 2 hours or something, helping out, but then you're getting all the advantages of getting the seminar and meeting people. So think about that as well. Okay. All right, so I'm going to talk about contacts. So this is something that I really leveraged as much as I could when I was looking for work. And I wanted to talk about, well, the first kind of group is, I want to back up a little bit. When you're going through your action plan and saying, where are my gaps? I'm not really sure what they are. You know, I'm not sure what I have or don't have, as one of you was just asking about. Informational interviews or the contacts you're going to have, and then we're talking about informational interviews, are a great way to find out what you're missing and what you need to get. But the easiest people to talk to first is what I call the low-hanging fruit. So those are people that you're working for or have worked for. So supervisors, your professors, and I always throw in family and friends. I mean, you might have lots of people in your family and lots of friends who have nothing to do with law. But if you start talking to them about who they know, you'd be very surprised at the people that they have as contacts. And they're very sort of low-hanging fruit. They're easy to talk to those people. The other great way to contact people, you know, get contacts, is the Alumni Directory. And one of the handouts we have here instructs you how to go into that. And I just would give one word of caution. Just put California in there. The way it's set up, it sorts people by where they live. So if you're looking for firms that you want to talk to in your area that might be in San Francisco, but the person lives in the East Bay, if you put in San Francisco, it's going to knock them out. So just put in California, put in law, put in some of the areas you're interested in, and even take those out and just look at law in general. So you can kind of sort through that and look for alumni. And they love to talk to you. Everybody that I've recommended contact alumni, they've all come back and said, oh, they were so willing to talk to me. I couldn't believe it. And they gave me all this time. The other thing I would suggest too is Golden Gate has a LinkedIn group, which is Golden Gate University Law LinkedIn. And it's got professors and students and staff and alumni. So it's going to have a broader range of connections on there, and you can kind of go through and see, oh,